Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you all to this afternoon's licensing subcommittee. Before I hand over to members, I'd like to take this time just to run through the protocols for this afternoon's hearing. Can I ask that you only speak when invited to do so by the chair? If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. Will everyone please ensure that their mics are muted when they are not speaking, apart from the chair, who does not need to mute their mic at any stage to ensure the meeting is conducted effectively. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allocated timeframes highlighted at the start of the hearing and contained within the agenda pack. If you're referring to a specific page or picture in a report, refer to the page number. If you are having technical difficulties, please use the chat function in Google Meet to alert the meeting or dial in on the phone number using the PIN. Please do not use the chat function for putting formal questions to the subcommittee. Any persistent disruptive behaviour will result in removal from the meeting. If there is more than one application, as there is today, parties are advised that after each application is heard in turn, as set out in the agenda pack, the subcommittee will not retire after each application. The parties can contact the licensing service to be informed of the decision, and you can do so the following day, or you can simply wait until you are notified of the decision. Applicants and all other parties will be asked to leave the proceedings after their item is concluded. Once all applications have been considered, any remaining parties will be asked to log out of the hearing. Please do so promptly so that councillors will have the opportunity to deliberate and make a decision on each application they have heard. Each party will be notified of the decision within 5 working days. So I hope that's all clear. I know you've all had sight of this before. At this point, I will hand over to members and ask them to elect a chair.
Can I propose Councillor Pluvier, please?
Sorry, and can I second that, please?
Great, thank you, colleagues. Okay, welcome to everybody, and I'll just start with apologies for absence. We received apologies from Councillor Bell, and Councillor Snell is substituting for him, so thank you, Councillor Snell. Do members have any interests to declare?
None.
None? Okay,
None.
thank you very much. Next on the agenda, item 4, can we agree the minutes attached the 4th of October?
Agreed.
I'm the only person that's on those minutes. I'm happy to agree them.
Agreed.
My colleagues are Councillor Smith and Councillor Snell, Natalie, who's clerking and running the governance of this committee for us, Amanda, who is the legal officer. We have an IT person present. We have Mike Smith from licensing, David Chewett also from licensing. I think that's everybody from Hackney. People who are here making applications, I'll ask you to introduce yourselves when you speak. So we've done step 1. Step 2, the licensing officer will outline each item as we go through them. Step 3, the applicant will present their case, and then we'll hear from responsible authorities. There are no other people in either of the agenda items today. We can lead a discussion then, if necessary, through the chair, and obviously the protocol involves people putting up their hands so I can see. If you want to speak, and you'll be speaking through me before we clarify any final points and draw the meeting to a close. You will have a chance at the end to make final points. So hopefully that's clear. You have that sheet in the information pack. And so I propose now we move on to item 6, which is the application to vary premises license for ABQ. And I'll hand over to Mike Smith, the licensing officer, to outline the report, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this is an application to vary the existing premises licence. I understand that police have withdrawn their objections. However, I do have to advise that I've been unable to establish the details of their withdrawal. Apologies for that. I'm sure the applicant's representative will be able to assist in that. Representations remain from licensing. I've nothing further to add to what's on the agenda papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. That's lovely. Well, in that case, we'll just go straight over to the applicant. Hear from the applicant then, please. Is that Gareth speaking on behalf of Sebastian?
Good afternoon, Chairman. Yes, indeed it is. Hello.
Lovely. Well, if you'd like to make your case, I saw somebody said they're having trouble with breaking up of noise, not hearing clearly. Please let us know if that goes on being a problem and you feel you're being excluded from the meeting in any way, and we can try and go over stuff. So use the chat to communicate with the IT people. It won't communicate directly to me, but somebody will communicate with me. Okay, so over to you then, Gareth, to put the applicant's case.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I just wanted to establish if you can all hear me before I talk on. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, it looks like everybody can hear you.
Thank you. I'm grateful. Chairman, I shall only take a few minutes to present the application in line with your guidance note. It's a simple application, very short to the extent that there is a lack of objection fundamentally apart from Mr. Hewitt, and I'll deal with his submissions in a second. The application is as per the report set out in front of you, and it's seeking an extra 90 minutes, that's 90 minutes, on Friday and Saturday nights only, with a closing hour of 1:30 a.m. and the end of alcohol sales at 1 o'clock, so 30 minutes before. This follows on, as you can see from the report, from a planning application which was made earlier this year and determined in March, on the 19th of March, which allowed for the very same extension in the hours of activity on Friday and Saturday evenings. It's therefore in line with your policy, LP5, which of course requires planning permission to be in place where it can be before a license application is submitted. So I would ask you to note, Chairman, that there are no representations or objections here from local residents. There are residents placed, as you will be aware, you will know the area, at the end of Bohemia Place, the other side from Mare Street. No representations from them from antisocial behaviour or noise. No representations from the environmental health officer, again on any noise-related issues. None from the fire authority. Insofar as the police are concerned, I just did forward to Mr. Smith, he asked me a few minutes before the hearing for the email. I spoke with Kerry Ryan initially when the application was in, and she said she would have no objections to make if the sale of alcohol terminated at 1 a.m., which was 30 minutes before the proposed closing time, which of course we readily agreed. She indicated on that basis that she would not be putting a rep in. I think she subsequently put one in, but the email I had back was that obviously our friends in Hackney Police are very much under pressure at the moment, and this was in error. So she was happy with the concession that we had made. In terms of Mr. Hewitt's point, I've spoken with Mr. Hewitt. He's obviously put in an objection on the basis of the policy only and the core hours. Again, I would ask you to look at the planning permission which was granted, which dealt only with the issue of hours, looking at amenity, the impact on residents and so on. And that policy that you have is there to obviously protect the residents. And again, I would ask you to note that there's no residential objection to this application. And I'm grateful to Mr. Hewitt for pointing out that planning has been granted. So when the hours were initially granted in 2018, the committee felt it was able to grant, even though then they were in excess of the core hours at LP3, but I would submit to the committee that there have been no problems with those hours since operations commenced in 2018. It's operated successfully. There are 32 in my submission, very robust conditions on the premises license relating to CCTV, training of staff, proof of age, SIO door supervisors, risk assessments, and so on, windows to be closed between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., and noise limiting devices. And in terms of your policies, LP1, I would say that the applicant here is required to have a good understanding of the locality. Well, he does, because he's been there for nearly 3 years now, including the time before the application was made in 2018. So he has a good knowledge of the locality. In terms of policy LP2 and the licensing objectives, again, with regard to crime and disorder, there are no police objections to this application. On public safety, again, it's been a successful operation for 2 years. There is no indication there has been any difficulties with public safety at the premises, and there's no objection based on that. And on public nuisance, again, no objections from the environmental health officer and no history over the 2 years preceding, and there's certainly no problems in relation to children. So those are the issues we must object under policy LP2. And again, I would finally add as a postscript, you're probably going to get this in all the hearings, that none of us, I think, need to be reminded that we're in very, very difficult times in extremis in terms of the economy and the hospitality sector, and applications such as this will often make the difference between survival and collapse of a firm. So I hope you bear that in mind in your considerations too, Madam Chairman and your colleagues. I don't think I have anything else to say. I know Mr. Lyle is online to assist you with any operational matters that you might want to question him on. But I hope I've kept within time, Chairman.
Thank you. That you have excellently. Thank you, Gareth. I think Councillor Snell wants to clarify something, ask a question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Right, so what is causing us confusion, and Mike has not been able to clarify, as far as I can see, is the representation received from Kerry Ryan from the police. And basically, she says conditions currently in place would need to be reconsidered. Condition 22 relates to employment of SIAs on an ongoing risk assessment basis, should be amended to a requirement of door supervisors on a Friday and Saturday night to ensure the safety of their customers and staff. Police would also propose the addition of a condition requiring a written dispersal policy. Now, if I look at the conditions proposed on this licence, there is a commitment to disperse towards Mare Street. The SIA door supervisors, as far as I can see, are being talked about on an ongoing risk assessment basis. So
yes,
those haven't been addressed. Now, are you telling us that the police have said, given the other changes that you made, they are no longer looking for that requirement?
Yes, indeed I am. And of course, it's no longer a representation in front of you, Councillor Snell, because it's been withdrawn. But the history of it was that Kerry Ryan and I discussed the matter even prior to the application being submitted. And her view was that so long as we cut back the hour for the sale of alcohol to 30 minutes before closing time, she would be happy. And so in the first instance, she didn't put a representation in. A subsequent email, which I've now forwarded to Mr. Smith, it indicates that police have been under pressure. It was a mistake putting it in, and it's obviously withdrawn. So that's no longer a submission in front of you.
Could we, Chair, could we confirm that with Mr. Smith, please?
I can confirm that I've seen the emails that were forwarded.
Yes,
thank you.
Yeah. I have forwarded the correspondence.
Yeah, we've got that an email. Thanks, Mike. Okay, brilliant. Any more questions before I just go over to David Tuitt from licensing? No? Okay. Right, David Tuitt from licensing then, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. So the representation I made is on page 52 of the agenda pack. I'll keep this very brief because it's a fairly straightforward issue. So the representation is made on the basis of preventing a public nuisance. However, the premises that we're dealing with are an established premises, so it's been there for a few years now. in the redeveloped railway arches in Bohemia Place. As Mr. Hughes has pointed out, the planning permission has recently been granted, which match the hours which shall be sought for the licence. And that apart from the police representation initially, there were no further representations. However, it is just the issue that the proposed hours at the weekends are slightly outside of those which we set out in LP3, so core hours. However, even in that policy, we do make reference to hours being more restrictive dependent on the character, and also later hours being considered where any risk assessment has been identified that would put in place measures to mitigate any negative impact on the promotion of the licensing objectives. And so the premises in Bohemia Place is surrounded by residential. I think directly opposite is the wall, which is the bus station. Above is railway arches. To the back is the site where Tesco is on Morning Lane. So in terms of residential being immediately nearby, there isn't much in that respect. However, as I say, policy LP3 does apply in this particular case. I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, anybody have any points they want to raise as a result of any of this? Nope. Councillor Snell, you're on mute.
Sorry, apologies. I just went and had a quick look at the email, and I have received it. Sorry, I hadn't seen that previously. I mean, if the police are withdrawing objections, knowing where these are situated, I'll be honest with you.
It seems.
Well, we'll make the decision outside of this meeting, yeah. But I think I've heard everything I need to. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor.
And Councillor Smith, you feel the same way? That you've heard everything you need to hear?
Well, generally, I mean, I would like to hear maybe just because licensing is concerned about the promotion of licensing objectives in regards to public nuisance. I would just like to hear a little bit about, you know, how the establishment might mitigate the possibility of that. Have they thought about it, really? I'd just like to hear just a little brief summary from them.
Cool.
I can give a summary.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, everyone. So we, to mitigate that risk of an extra hour, we've actually moved quite recently the restaurant bit, because during the lockdown and before that, what we saw that our pizza sales have gone through the roof, of course, on Deliveroo and Uber Eats. And we decided that we are actually going to focus a little bit more on the food bit, because we saw a lot of families walk through Bohemia Place, a lot of local people who wanted to sit down and not just have cocktails, but also have food. So we are expanding the menu and expanding the operations of the food side of the business, and hopefully that is one aspect which will help us to mitigate some risk. We are also moving a host station to the front of the venue, which means that people going in and out would be managed in a more controlled manner. So I think those two things together will make us more of a restaurant than a cocktail bar, with someone at the front all the time during operational hours. So those are the two main aspects which, when we reopen, hopefully 4th of July, you'll see a lot more of that. So yeah, that's a little summary.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay. I don't think we need any more discussion about this. If anybody wishes to make any closing remarks, Mr. Stewart, do you want to make any further remarks?
No. I think it's pretty much covered already, Chair. So no further remarks.
Thank you. That was clear. Gareth Hughes, do you want to say anything else before we? I mean, I have no more questions from myself or the councillors. So if you're happy, if there's anything you want to add, please, or sum up, please do.
You're very kind, Chairman. No, I have nothing further to say. Thank you.
Okay, if everyone's happy, then I propose we draw agenda item, whichever this is. Sorry about this. Whichever number it is, 6, to a close, and allow those people to leave the meeting if they want to, and our decision will be relayed to you as Natalie set out before. And thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Okay, thanks everybody for that. I think we've made all the note we need to make of agenda item 6, and we'll move on to, if people are starting to gather, that's lovely, for agenda item 7, which is the 4 quarters. We've got everybody here that we need to have?
It's just myself. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Absolutely, thank you so much. Just for clarification, I have got your name written somewhere, but it's not come up. It is?
I'm Joseph Dowling. I'm the operations manager for 4 quarters.
Lovely, thanks ever so much. Okay, so I'll now ask Mr. Smith, Mike Smith, please to outline the report for us.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this is an application to vary an existing premises licence. The only remaining representation is that from licensing. I've nothing further to add to the agenda item, the agenda pack. So that's nothing to say. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Smith. So Joseph Dowling, it's over to you then to explain just quickly what it is you want and how it'll be, how it will run, basically.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure you're all aware what the application is, just to extend our opening hours by 1 hour on Friday and Saturday, and by half an hour on Monday through Thursday. I've prepared a short presentation. I don't know, it might have been a bit overboard, bearing in mind the last one. I shall press on, give you a bit of background about our business. So 4 Quarters is the UK's first and London's only arcade bar brand. It was established in June 2014 in Peckham, with a sister site following in February 2016 in the Here East development. Trade at Canalside has proved very seasonal, and the first 14 months were somewhat of a struggle, but the venue has since gone from strength to strength and is now trading exceptionally well. Indeed, it almost matched turnover at the Peckham site in 2019. Trade at our Hackney Wick site, it does seem to be quite weekend focused. We tend to do the vast amount of our lucrative party bookings on Fridays and Saturdays. Due to the location of the bar and lack of other options in the immediate area, we tend to be sending people home slightly earlier than they would perhaps like. So we feel the proposed small extension to trading hours would be a huge benefit, especially with challenging times ahead. It's important to note that we do not get significant numbers of people turning up late at night, and the proposed variation is almost exclusively for servicing customers who have been in the venue already, rather than trying to attract last-minute drinkers. Our cut-off time for bookings is 2200. We rarely get new customers coming in any later than sort of 22:30. And for most of our customers coming in later, our bar will be their final destination. Our clientele is not a pre-drinking crowd by any means. The Here East development is private land. It has 24-hour in-house security on site. Here East has robust policies and management in place for the outside space, which we are duty bound to adhere to regardless of any licensing conditions. During our first 4 years of operation, we've had no notable instances of disorder, and we have run various temporary events notices for late night events without any incident. We do have a very solid relationship with our landlords, and I'd like to read a short statement from Sarah Carthy, who is the estate director at Here East. She says, Barcade Limited, trading as 4 Quarters on Canalside, have been a tenant of Here East since 2016. They are an excellent tenant who operate in a very professional manner, both within their premises and their outdoor seating area. We have never had any concerns re their operation or complaints from local residents or members of the public. We are aware of their intent to extend their opening hours and are fully supportive of this and do not envisage any issues. If you'd like a copy of that email, I'm more than happy to forward it to you. Continuing on, so the nearest noise-sensitive premises from us is around 65 metres away on the other side of the canal, and we have not received any objections from local residents, as you'll be aware. And we have agreed a set of conditions with OLAF and Environmental Health to mitigate any potential negative effects of this application on the 4 licensing objectives. These include limiting the amount of people smoking outside after 2300 to 12 people, and enforcing a no drinks policy in the outside area from this time, along with various other conditions that will actually improve our ability to support the licensing objectives. We have seen the police also withdraw the application as they had no concerns around the proposed opening hours, except with the non-standard timings. So it was agreed that any such timing could be carried out by way of attends, and the objection has now been withdrawn, as you know. We've also spoken with David Tuitt, who explained the remaining objection is solely on policy grounds, and he does not have any issue with the nature of the application per se. And just to sum up, as you are all no doubt aware, the hospitality industry is facing severe challenges in the coming months and perhaps even years. Our business is no different. Our location has certainly proved challenging at times, but whereas several of our neighbours have unfortunately ceased trading during the past few years, Four Quarters has become one of the true success stories for the Heary's scheme, and we have become a real draw. Without doubt, the biggest benefit to this proposed variation will be the fact that it will allow us to offer more hours to our staff at a time when we may be forced to significantly reduce the overall amount of hours available due to trading restrictions, which are bound to persist for some time. Our main customer base during the weekday evenings is from thousands of workers at Heary's scheme. There's no guarantee all these workers will return anytime soon. As we stand, we have not made any staff redundant across the entire business, and we sincerely hope it will be possible to soon recover staffing levels and available hours to close to pre-COVID levels. This variation will be a huge step forward in that regard, as we expect it to provide at least 8.5 additional working hours per week, and it will also help offset an inevitable reduction in turnover. That is all. Thank you very much for listening. I can't.
Thanks very much. Okay, over for questions, clarification. Councillor Snell?
Okay, so just to clarify exactly what this is, the only venue that I really used to use down there was the 5 Points Brewing venue, which, as you say, is one of the ones that couldn't make a success of it and has moved out. As I understand your existing license and the hours you're trying to extend, it is for alcohol, but a condition that food is always available on the premises with non-alcoholic drinks. I'm just interested because from my knowledge, and it's not that recent, of that area, they're a combination of food and drink, and not necessarily a drinks-led area. So can you just explain to us how your operation works? What is the sort of balance between food and
Absolutely. I mean, we are a wet-led business, but the food side of our business is important. We took maybe 18 months to get the right offer, but we've had a very successful pizza offering in place for probably, I think, over 2 years now. And that pizza offering, it's there to service our customers, our parties. It's always available. You're right in what you say. Most of the other operators on that strip are food-led, but they've all gradually started to put more of an emphasis on their drinks offer. But, you know, I won't say that we're a food-led business because we're not, but it is a very important part of our offer.
And one little supplementary. I mean, one of the things we have been discussing in our private sessions on licensing is how we are safely going to make drinking facilities available, because clearly we've got a problem at the moment that the public spaces people aren't observing social distancing rules, and it's causing our enforcement service a lot of trouble. Now, from what I remember of those units, because one of the problems is, number one, you need to have people some distance apart, but number two, how do you get to the toilets without while maintaining at least 1 meter distance? Now, I suspect that might be quite easy on your premises and the premises near you, but is it easy to maintain social distance when you use the toilets?
We have quite a spacious site, luckily for us. You know, I'm not going to say 2 meters isn't a struggle for everyone, but there's plenty of room there for 1.5 meters. If it is 2 meters, we'll have to enforced pretty strict, probably one-way system with one in, one out at the toilets. But we're pretty confident that the layout of our venue and all the traders and the whole area is quite spacious. So I can't envisage any. We're probably in a better position than most average retailers in so far as I think we're going to be able to operate fairly well.
I'm being a bit cheeky. That's not specific to this application, but we'd like to get a feel for what's going on around the borough. So thanks very much.
Yeah, I mean, anything you want to know. I mean, we most of the retailers there are open for takeaway now, so we're all feeling our way back into business. And trade has been quite brisk, actually. I mean, the landlords have done everything they can to support the traders. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Smith, have you any clarifications before we move on?
Yes, please. I'd just like to talk about the windows and doors, because obviously you're telling us that you keep them shut after 2200 hours. And just those sort of West Ham implications when all the fans come back as to how that works, and just how many people you get in there roughly at the weekend would be good to know.
Sure.
And do you have an air conditioning unit? Because I'm a little bit concerned about it getting too hot out there and people maybe congregating outside.
We absolutely do. It's part of the sort of design brief. It had to be a water-cooled system, so it's quite a complicated aircon system, but there is a air conditioning in place for the air. I mean, our whole capacity is 250 people. I mean, it's very rare we'd be at that sort of capacity. Football, it's not often that the football crowd comes to us, to be honest. Every now and again, it's more away fans, but the way that the schemes work, they'll never come after a game. I think they get moved away, but we quite often get fans coming before the game, but not in vast numbers. But yeah, I mean, Friday, Saturdays, we tend to have a lot of bookings. It's mostly seated bookings, and then you'll have sort of casual walk-in crowd.
What's the maximum you've ever had in there?
Well, I'm sure we've been at capacity with a few of the private events we've done. So probably about 230.
Yeah. And how often does that happen?
Rarely. I'd say, because the nature of the venue, because we have a lot of arcade machines, and I'd say that we never really get beyond 200 people. Unless it's a private hire where they've got a set amount of guests.
Yeah. So how often does that happen?
I'd say in peak trading times in the summer, it wouldn't be unusual for us to have 200 customers. But like I said, I couldn't really think of times it would go beyond that. It's just, I don't know if I can exactly give you
5 times a year, 10 times a year, 20 times a year, 50 times.
So we probably do private hires maybe a couple of times a year that might hit that capacity, and I would say the good thing is it's all spread out throughout the day, because we start at midday, and generally it'll never be quiet, but it'll never be completely full. So I'd say the times we actually go over 200 capacity is maybe 10 times a year. I mean 200. We would never obviously go over 250.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, mostly in the summer months.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Smith. Okay, over to David Jewett to hear from you from licensing, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. So the representations on page 85 of the printed agenda pack. This application is quite similar to the previous application, where it's an established premises, and I'm making a representation based on the grounds of the prevention of public nuisance. So it is part of the wider Here East estate, which I think is quite important in this particular case, because that gives some additional protection. It's in a canal side parade, so some distance away, as the applicant has stated. The nearest residential premises is on the opposite side of the canal, and it forms a row of commercial premises. There are no other reps as referred to, apart from a discussion with environmental protection earlier. However, the hours are slightly outside of those which we set out in LP3, the core hours policy. So that's the main reason for why this application has been brought here today. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, David. Okay, any clarification on that? Okay, any further questions? My only question was to the applicant. I believe the police, it was clarified with the police fairly early on that your extension does not include off sales. Am I correct in that?
That is correct. Yeah, we've got no desire to extend off sales as part of that application. Our off sales generally, there's quite robust policies in place. We have to use branded polycarbonate vessels. Yeah,
I saw all that with the. Yeah, you've got that, so that's fine. I just wanted to check that I was right about that. Okay, anybody else have questions or points they want to raise for discussion?
Chair, I could just mention actually, in relation to the earlier discussion, just that relates to the premises being able to open potentially from the 4th of July. There is a separate series of variation applications which we've got from Here East Management that looks at the outdoor areas. But all of the premises at the moment have a certain amount of space outside. And we've got a series of applications that seeks to temporarily extend that space outside. So there is that's going on in the background as well.
Okay, did everybody else hear that? Because I lost most of that. So if the other two councillors heard that and are okay with it, that's fine.
Well, sorry, can I come in? Yes,
Snell.
I think Gilbert wanted to come in as well. But basically,
Okay.
David, there are limits on the use of the outside space on this licence that we're considering today. Sorry, Emma, what David said was that Here East are trying to extend the licensed external area to help businesses restart and develop. But I'm just wanting to confirm with David that the conditions that we have on this licence wouldn't be amended. Would they be amended? I suppose the external area might get bigger if the Here East application goes through. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's all they're seeking, just to temporarily vary the outdoor, just the size and positioning of the outdoor areas just through this period of recovery.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's really helpful. Gilbert, did you want to? Yeah.
Yes, please. Just one more, please, if you don't mind. Just on dispersal, I'm just interested because obviously there's a number of routes to take out of there. Just talking about how people get to the venue. Are there lots of cyclists coming? More pedestrians? How do they tend to leave the area? Do they tend to head back to Stratford through Hackney Wick or along the canal back up towards Homerton High Street?
Well, this is for me, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, as part of the application, I've offered to get a more robust dispersal policy in place. It's something we'd like to do anyway. The good news is that a vast majority of our customers, especially during the week, are local residents who come from a lot of the new builds there. So I'd say most people who come to the venue are within walking distance. The people who come
coming across from East Village, that direction, you mean?
Exactly, yeah. East Village, there's obviously a lot of development now at Hackney Wick, the Bagel Factory and all those sort of developments, and then off towards Stratford and the other way.
Yeah.
There's just a phenomenal amount of young professionals who've moved to the area, and I think this has been part of the reason we've gone from strength to strength is because of it's our sort of demographic. So I'd say it's a very local crowd. When people are coming in, they'll generally be coming in via Stratford or Hackney Wick stations, and some of them will get the shuttle bus, which is operated by Here East. Some of them will walk. I think, alongside the canal is the route from Hackney Wick, whereas Stratford you have to go through sort of East Village. I think I always get a bit confused on that particular walk.
Yeah. And are people cycling there?
A lot, yeah. Because the thing about the Here East development is everything they do is to prevent people driving. There's no parking really, other than expensive parking that's cost £15 a stay. And they've got the shuttle bus. If you're getting a cab, the pickup point is just up sort of on Lesney Avenue or just over on the actual sort of road alongside the flyover, so outside of that development. So everything that they do is to discourage car traffic. So everyone, the vast majority of people are on foot, on a bike. A lot of cyclists in the area, and I think they've even got a scooter scheme on the Here East development now.
Yeah.
So, but
And do you find that people generally leave as soon as they leave the venue?
Yeah, this is it, because there's not anywhere else to go. So almost all of our crowd who come later at night are either going to go straight home via public transport or walk home. A small minority might be going on to sort of Bar 90 or something, but it really tends to get very quiet very quickly. And of course, the Here East security on hand should anyone be loitering and causing a nuisance.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. If we've done asking questions and having a discussion, I think I will ask if either Joe Dowling or David Tuitt wishes to sum up at all. David Tuitt, do you wish to say anything?
No, I've got nothing further to add, Chair.
Thank you. And Joe, do you have anything further to add?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm always there if you need any information about the area. Just drop me an email. I'm more than happy to help out.
Lovely. Okay, thank you very much. I think we have all we need to make a decision. So I'll now ask you, the applicant, to leave, and anybody else who shouldn't be in our deliberations. And thank you very much.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Okay,